can trust. LN 24/7 News, where the story goes, we go.
Hello and a very good morning to you and yours from wherever you're watching us this beautiful Tuesday morning. We have so much lined up for you, but let me introduce myself, even though I know I do not need an introduction. However, I am Precious Obaze and I'm so excited, Zoe, to be doing this with you.
Absolutely. It's Tuesday again,
Oh, yeah.
9th day in the month of July. Congratulations. If you haven't heard me say it, but it's good to have you be here. And you know what, like we always say, you ought to be happy, grateful that you're here, that you're alive. As we always say, where there is life, there is hope. But truly, that's the reality. So welcome on board. We're glad to have you here.
Indeed, and of course, like we had promised earlier, we have so much lined up for you in this beautiful edition of the morning show, a flagship breakfast show right here on LN 24/7. So we'll just take you right into our package for you today. We'll start off with our top stories, and first on it, Nigeria suspends tax import duties for maize, wheat and brown rice.
Right, and on education this morning, we're going to be looking at Naira devaluation, the impact on Nigerian students studying abroad.
Also on the top stories, do not adopt Kenya model in Nigeria, Group 1.
And also today on the program, conversation in Kenya will only be about issues that's coming from the country's president, William Ruto.
I mean, Kenya has seemingly become a model for some people, while some are clamoring for process. Others are saying, don't go that route. There are better ways to address issues and risk loss of lives and property. However, we have this and so much more we have lined up for you this beautiful Tuesday morning. We will go for a very quick break. When we return, we will come up with some issues that are all on the front burner. Join us again. Well, it's great to have you back. We have returned with the front burner, and our first story this morning tells us that the country has suspended tax and import duties on maize, wheat and brown rice. Let's bring you background. Now, the federal government has announced the suspension of duties, tariffs and taxes for the importation of some food items through land and sea borders. The foods include maize, husk, brown rice, wheat and cowpeas. Abba Kyari, the Minister of Agriculture and Food Security, disclosed this while announcing a 150-day duty-free import window for food commodities. While speaking at a conference, Kyari did say that 150-day duty-free import window for food commodities, suspension of duties, tariffs and taxes for the importation of certain food commodities through land and sea borders. Now, these commodities include maize, husk rice, brown rice, wheat, and cowpeas. Now, he says under this agreement, imported food commodities will be subjected to a recommended retail price. He expressed gladness to reiterate that the government's position exemplifies standards that would not compromise the safety of the various food items for consumption. In addition, he says that the importation by private sector, federal government will import 250 metric tons of wheat and 250 metric tons of maize. The imported food commodities in the semi-processed state will target supplies to the small-scale processors and millers across the country. Zoe, we are suspending tax on import of food commodities. We're talking brown husked rice, we're talking wheat, we're talking maize. And for me, it just flagged, it's a flag for me, right? It can be any color flag, but it is a flag for me. I'm thinking, as a country, we have the capacity, you know, to grow these things, especially maize. I'm surprised that we're even importing maize. I mean, all my life, I've always known that maize is one crop that we plant year in, year out. And maize seems to be one very sturdy crop that just blooms, seems to bloom year round, because at different seasons of the year, you'd find that people are roasting corns, people are selling, you know, these maize and all of that. And then all of a sudden we're told that we're importing maize, we're importing wheat, we're importing husked brown rice. And I'm thinking the Anchor Borers program, what happened to the Anchor Borers program where, you know, rice paddies were, you know, set up, people were given monies to do rice paddies under the Buhari administration? What happened to all of that program? Where did those seeds go? What is wrong with our agriculture sector? We're talking insecurity, we're talking all kinds of issues that bedevil that sector. We haven't fully, you know, addressed all of these issues to ensure food security. We're looking at monies that would have gone, you know, done so much for the country. We are eliminating tax. And I'm also thinking, is this an avenue where someone holds some... Okay, let me hold my thought there, but...
Yeah,
you're
right to sort of have these questions, because I ask myself this story, you know, on the surface it appears to be some efforts at, as was mentioned in the article, or you know, in the story, it's supposed to make food more readily available, or maybe even bring down the prices of food. But I ask myself, who does these tax waivers benefit? Is it us, you know, the country that is importing, or are the importers themselves, you know, the people that are, the countries that are bringing these things in?
It's the importers, it favors them.
Exactly my point. So, and then added to the fact that we ought to be growing, if we're not, but we are growing these things back home, you know, so it doesn't quite fit. It doesn't quite fit, you know, and I want to really hope that this is not the only measure that government is taking to try and bring down prices of food, because if that's the only measure, it may not go far, or may not go anywhere at all, because that's not the real reason why food is scarce. So if you're looking at the real reasons, we've been talking about farmers, how that they can't go to the farm any longer because of insecurity in their various areas, and then coupled with other things. So I think that should be the focus. Now, if talking about focus, that should be the focus. If we want to achieve food sufficiency, that will have to be the way. You know, all these ones are secondary, but...
I mean, you're waiving tax on the import of these food commodities. Does that guarantee a reduction in price? Because you're saying that it's going to be fixed at a retail price. Retail price set by whom? Who's going to regulate it? Who regulates that pricing index that you're going to put there? And how would it favor those who are important? Because whether you like it or not, if you're waiving import duties, tax and all of that from those people, but understand that they're also important. So the cost of transportation also is a factor, you know, that must be considered. So at the end of the day, what they're bringing is going to be cheaper than what's in the market already. I'm just thinking, a lot of times, we expend efforts, however well-meaning those efforts are. We just find that sometimes those efforts are a waste of time and a waste of resources, because now you're saying you're waiving this payment on all of these products. Who are the major importers? Who is it going to favor? I mean, we heard this same government telling us that, fuel subsidy was scrapped because the rich were, you know, it was favoring the rich more than it was favoring the not so rich. I don't like the word poor. I don't believe anybody's poor, so I don't associate with that word. You know, so you're saying that it was favoring the rich and you know, over the not so rich, forgetting that other aspects that impacted, you know, that had positive impact on the lives of the not so rich would also be affected adversely in that sense. But I mean, nobody considered that. So now you're waiving all these import duties. Are you thinking of the not so rich? How does this favor them? Because I mean, it doesn't even balance out. From where I'm standing, it doesn't really balance out. So the question remains here. How much benefit will this be to the country at large? You know, to the Nigerian people, to the Nigerian government that is, you know, looking for money with everything they've got. How does this benefit anybody in the long run?
That's a question. Now, the second story seems to be related to it. In fact, it is very much part of the story that we you know, read out of in the beginning.
The first story.
Yes, the Nigerian government on Monday unveiled measures to overcome high prices of food in Nigeria within the next 180 days. Minister of Agriculture and Food Security Abubakar Kyari said a 150-day duty-free import window for food commodities will be implemented by the federal government. Okay, it does appear to be the same story. Speaking at a press conference in Abuja, Kyari says a 150-day duty-free import window for commodities, suspension of duties, tariffs and taxes for the importation of certain food commodities through land and sea border. Again, it is the same story, talking about maize, husked brown rice, wheat, cowpeas. I'm asking, is this, you know, I'm just speculating here. Could it be some sort of concessions, maybe for some form of aid, or maybe some sort of loan? Because I'm asking, how did this come about? Like,
out of the blues. You
know, out of the blues. Like, if everyone sat down, if all the ministers, all the stakeholders sat down to really think about what we have to do as a country to bring down the prices of food and to, you know, ensure the food sufficiency I talked about earlier, was this that we came up with? It couldn't have been. It couldn't have been. I refuse to believe that we are smart, we are intelligent, we know what to do.
Indeed.
So this appears something else, something that is related with something entirely different. It's supposed to bring down the prices of food, but will it though? You asked the question. I'm asking also, will it bring down the prices of food, goods and, you know, food commodities? Probably not, because there's the factor of always wanting to make profits. So if importers get a tax waive, it doesn't. Is that a guarantee? Will it translate on?
Now you say that a fixed retail pricing system is going to be put in place to ensure that you know, the prices comply. But when have we ever had that model work? When have we ever had it work? I mean, you'd find in different parts of the country people are selling products, same product at different. Well, I'm even talking about different prices. On a street, for instance. I mean, where I live, we have several markets, we have several shops, you know, along the road. Everybody sells at their own price. So how are you going to ensure that the price of these imported goods will not far outweigh the price of, you know, what's on ground already? How do you guarantee that? Now, secondly, I wasn't going to mention this, but I think it's a bull we need to take by the horn. We're even talking about these imported products. What food commodities? What is the quality? Are they genetically modified food stuff you're bringing, or are they natural food grown crops? Because I do recall that the minister at the press conference did say that he's aware that some Nigerians are concerned about the quality and the genetic makeup of those crops, but you didn't elaborate if they're natural or they're GMOs or whatever. Whether you like it or not, concerns about GMOs, they're real. I mean, I've had the opportunity to talk with some biologists who actually research on food, work with the WHO, UN WHO sponsored research programs. And I know what they say about, this GMO product, food stuff, how that in the long run they don't benefit anybody. It's just like you eating husk. Chicken. So the concerns are, and we're not even talking about the health impact now. So you saying that you're aware of concerns. However, how reassuring is that for Nigerians? At the end of the day, why do we major on the minor and leave the major? We know that Nigeria has arable lands all across the country. We have arable lands where we can grow our crops to feed ourselves. Why are we not tackling the challenges that bedevil that sector, that has just become a stumbling block to the sector? Why are we not looking at those challenges? Now, we're opening this window for everybody, I mean, open to all comers, 150 days, open to all comers, import all kinds of things into the country. Who is going to ensure quality? What's the quality control on these things? Who's going to be responsible to ensure that whatever is coming into the country is of top-notch quality? That one we'll just leave on the front, but I expect that we'll get answers, in the coming days as government continue to unfold their plans. Now, our third story on the front burner this morning, that's all the way, taking us all the way to Kenya, where President William Ruto is saying the conversations in his country will definitely be only about issues. Now, the Kenyan process was largely marked by pronounced placards denouncing the International Monetary Fund, IMF, and World Bank, which are accused of causing the crisis. IMF, World Bank, stop the modern-day slavery, one placard read. Across the capital, Nairobi, graffiti denouncing the organizations is visible even as protesters continue to demand Ruto resign. So what is the IMF's role in the current crisis, and what are Kenyans now demanding from the organization? And in Kenya, that anger is fresh because Ruto's now withdrawn tax hikes, as well as similar legislation passed in 2023, are both linked to IMF loans as Kenya staggers under the weight of a heavy debt crisis. I think we do have a track up. Let's a soundbite. Let's take a listen to William Ruto.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Fellow Kenyans, the last 2 weeks have been a difficult time for us as a country, where Kenyans have regrettably lost lives, many have been injured, property destroyed, and our institutions, especially constitutional institutions, attacked. Once again, I extend my deepest condolences to those who unfortunately lost their lives. One life, as we all know, lost is a life too many. To the mothers, fathers, siblings, relatives, and friends of those who lost their lives, my deepest sympathies and condolences to you all. Equally, to the many others who are injured and recuperating, I wish them quick recovery. The government of Kenya will support all those who've lost their lives and those who've been injured. Despite all this, as a nation, we are finally discussing issues. We are not discussing tribes, personalities, or political formations, but rather we are discussing issues that affect each and every one of us. Issues of taxation, debt, budget, corruption, the cost of living, unemployment, and opportunities for all Kenyans, especially our young people. If you go back on my Twitter account, I made a commitment to the country in 2019-2020 that the conversation in Kenya is going to change. It is not going to be about personalities. It is not going to be about positions. It is not going to be about tribes. It is going to be about issues. Today, that situation is true.
So I'm just going to allow you to take first dig into that story and, of course, William Ruto's speech to his country.
I feel, while I was watching him talk, stand there and, give his speech, I couldn't help but think that in some way he squandered the goodwill that he gained, the goodwill that he had, the goodwill he started out with when he became president. He had wide support of the young people, the youth. Considering where he came from, he kept saying, I used to hustle, I know what it is like to be hungry, I know what it is like to be poor, and here we are, so I know how to, represent your needs and all of that. And then somewhere along the line, he must have derailed and started listening to people he had no business listening to, people who do not really know how things work in your country, advising you on how to run your economy. And we see this happen across Africa, right? We have the Bretton Woods institutions telling you what you must do, either to get aid.
And it's the same model every
And
time.
it has never worked.
Cut on public spending, all kinds of funny things that will keep your country in penury.
It has never worked. Give me one instance where these, these policies have worked, or these advisories have worked. Tell me one, give me an example of I stand to be corrected, one country in Africa where the policies,
developing and underdeveloped countries,
policies of these institutions have improved your economy. It never has. It always ends back on, bringing untold hardship on the people.
Devaluing
you're taxing the people, you're placing burden on them. And so when the young people, mostly because a lot of the reports will tell you these are the young, the Gen Zs, as it were, that carried it on their heads and say, you know what, you're toying with our future and we're not going to stand for it, right? And perhaps he didn't see it coming. Initially, his stance was like, I'm going to quell whatever, resistance, whatever is coming. But I think he was advised, like, tread with caution here, because I think to date, the last time I checked was about 39 people that died.
Over 400 people injured.
Injured, just within the protests. We don't know how many more people, of course, many others were arrested, detained. But now he's saying, you know what, it's time for us to talk. I kind of like the fact that it was a reality check for him. So now we're not talking about tribes, where I'm from and where you're from. Let's talk about the issues. What must we do as a country to deal with this thing? The taxes will not help. The policies that devalue our currency, that bring untold burdens on the people, to the point that you would put tax on bread, commodities like bread, Amazing. So I'm happy that he has realized that these conversations have to hold. Now, again, as it is with people, you always have two camps. Now you're beginning to have people who see themselves as the organizers of the movement, who now want to be the representatives to have these talks with the president and all of that. So again, they need to tread with caution, because that means they could be compromised, or they could be manipulated in some way, right? So it's a developing story. We're watching, we're looking to see how all this pans out, but you know, there has to be...
You know, Zoe, when you were talking, I couldn't help but reflect on, you know, how Ruto became, you know, the president, and immediately after the elections, what happened. Now, we must not forget that it wasn't as if Ruto met a very rosy future.
He didn't.
Even though he was a part of the government, you know, the previous government before, you know, he became the president. And I do recall at the time, a forever opponent, Raila Odinga, who I think was the prime minister at the time, or he had the position at the time, you know, came out and first rejected the result and said William Ruto couldn't have won the elections and all of that. And then secondly, when that didn't hold water, his first, you know, act of dispute was a protest on tax hike, inflation, and all of that. You know, so that country had that process for a period, I think about 2-3 weeks. Kenya saw processed, you know, just at the beginning of William Ruto's government, and I would have thought that that would have been, you know, a caution of some sort, you know, to him, that, you know what, opposition leaders are watching, the whole country is watching, and they want to see how you will perform. And then young people whose majority, you know, brought you into office are watching also, and would want to see that really you do have their backs and you're concerned, you know, about their future. So your next step of action would make or mar, you know, your time in office. We would have expected to see all of that. And I think also that Ruto, in a bid to get solution, he thought to turn to the Bretton Woods institution, global lenders, to see if he could get money to kickstart his economy, you know, rejig the whole system, and then, you know, get it up and running. Not knowing that, you know, there's always an ulterior motive to these things. I mean, no lender would give you money without wanting to ensure that you can pay back, even though they know a lot of times that African countries really can't afford to pay back these loans. And that brings me to the question: when you know somebody cannot pay you back, why keep giving? You know, it just tells me that you have ulterior motives. That's why you continue
it's a trap.
This pattern.
It's a debt trap.
That's on the one hand. Right, that's on the one hand. However, on the other hand, for me, I'm looking at a situation where you won't be the government of, you know, the #1 man for the top job. You think you're smart enough, you've got what it takes to run the country. Do you really understand what it takes to run the country? Do you understand the issues, the challenges you have as a country? Do you have solutions? A lot of times we find people racing into, you know, the top man's job, wanting, you know, all the prim and pageantry, you know, pomp and pageantry that comes, benefits and all that comes with that office, forgetting that uneasy lies the head that wears the crown. I mean, in Nigeria, it's so different. Look at all the issues that we have today, and then the president and his cabinet, they are scrambling all, you know, all over the place, trying to look for solutions, you know, to our economic challenges as well as a country. So the question is, did you fully understand this job you were taking on? Did you have a clear understanding of the challenges? Did you even have a vision of how to solve that problem? Continually, Ruto will not tell me he's not aware of challenges countries even have of paying back. Or is it that you just want to borrow the money? You didn't think of paying back, you just wanted the money first without thinking of every other thing, you know, that are coming. Because, I mean, part of the conditionalities, those loans will tell you, devalue your currency, your local currency. And why? Did you even bother to ask, why are you telling me to devalue my currency? If I'll be able to pay you back, why am I? Because when my currency loses value, it makes it more difficult for my economy to function effectively. It makes it difficult for me to have, you know, reasonable conversations on the tables of commerce. It makes it hard for me, because if I'm going to trade, I'm going to be paying twice whatever I should have paid initially. Why are you telling me to devalue my currency? Who asks that question? We don't find African leaders asking that question. And that's on the one hand. Then secondly, they tell you, raise taxes. You're raising taxes, you're taxing virtually everything in your country. What is the economic situation of your citizens? Can they afford to pay tax on everything? Maybe one day we'll be told to pay taxes on the air that we breathe, because it's looking like it's gradually coming to that. To that. You don't have enough employment in your country. You don't even have the ability, as it were, to provide employment for your people. Yet, the very basics of life, you are being told, raise tax on everything. And so because you are being told to tax everything and raise tax on everything, you're looking for gari, crayfish, dried pepper, even sand, to impose tax on, forgetting that when your people are economically strong, your economy will thrive. But when your people are burdened, they are pushed into poverty, your economy will perform badly. Nobody thinks of these things. Everybody's just thinking, you know what, let me just go and get that money first. And then what? When you get the money, what do you do with the money?
With it? Let's even go there.
Because if, for instance, you go and take these loans, you come back to say, okay, you know what, we're fixing our roads, we're ensuring that the manufacturing sector in our country is working, we're ensuring that the different sectors that we know are economic drivers are working. If these sectors are working, we know that we can pay back the loans and our people will be happy. You don't do that a lot of times. I mean, we still have to grapple with bad roads. I'm even using Nigeria as an instance. At the state level, local government, there were different levels. We still have to grapple with bad roads. And so you find ride-hailing services or even cab drivers, so they're dealing with hiking fuel price, right? They're dealing with maintenance of their vehicles, which has risen ×2. They're dealing with all kinds of things. So who does that burden fall back on? Your everyday person that uses these services. So, Ruto, did you consider all of this? What impact it's going to have on your country, your country's economy that was already suffering? Did you think about all of this? So you take the advice. I mean, it was a script. You come out and you read the script. We're raising taxes, we're putting tax on bread, we're putting tax on this, and the people are watching and are like we don't even have it hard enough. So the bread I would have bought 100 naira, you're not telling me that I should come and... I mean, Nigeria, how much are we buying loaf of bread? 1,500 naira.
1,500.
From 400, 500, 600 naira. And even that range was, because if you had high taste, you didn't want a certain kind of bread, you wanted sliced, you wanted with berries or nuts, all kinds of things in it. So the price, but of course, the price range differs according to your taste. And so because you feel, I want to eat coconut bread. You can afford it and then you buy it. That same coconut bread, how much is it selling today? So you find that life is really not easy for the people. And then by the time you do this, now you're even saying that people who own vehicles will pay tax on vehicles, will pay tax on fuel, pay tax on everything, apart from the breath and probably the water they're drinking. And you think you're going to have the people lying low and watching you to say, oh, congratulations, continue. But of course not, because life is already hard for the people. And so I am just thinking, African leaders, when will Africa as a continent wake up? I mean, there's strength in numbers, right? We're strong when we're united. I dare say, and I'm waiting for somebody to prove me wrong to say that if Africa as a continent bands together, we can't stand strong. We can't build each other's economy. I stand to be corrected, or I stand to be told you are lying. Because I don't believe that. Look at the EU bloc. Look, you want to open the phone lines, right?
Yeah, no, the phone lines are open, but I kind of wanted the last story, which
please
kind
just
of
go right ahead. Go right ahead.
The story which kind of connects, which is now we have a group, right, who is kind of warning, or who is kind of saying, don't adopt Kenya model in Nigeria. It's a non-governmental organization called the Center for Crisis Communications, CCC, which has issued a stern warning to Nigerians against contemplating the model adopted by the Kenyans in their recent anti-tax protests. Chairman Board of Trustees of the CCC, the retired Major General Chris Olukolade, gave the warning while addressing newsmen on the center's conflict trends analysis for the second quarter on Monday in Abuja. Kolade said the center was concerned about the antics of those who are mooting the idea of reenacting in Nigeria the recent anti-tax crisis that has rocked Kenya. According to him, they believe that such destructive protests in Nigeria will be the surest way of getting the government to solve our current economic challenges. He said that as much as the right to protest was guaranteed in the nation's constitution, any form of destruction and violence in the name of protest should be avoided. According to him, the Kenyan experience is not and should not be our democratic model. Violence has no redeeming quality, and any action that will lead to violence and destruction should be discouraged. Nigeria is already assailed by multifaceted internal security challenges, and any call for violent protests will simply open the country up for opportunist criminal.
So while
Well
you're
said.
sounding this warning, are you also talking to governments too? The truth is, I have never been an advocate for violence.
I haven't either.
You know, like I'd always say here, strike actions, protests, they just cause more problems than they solve. They don't solve any problem really. Because, I mean, we did see the NSAS, we saw all the loss, all the destruction and carnage that went on, and then Lagos State government comes out to say, oh, we need over how many trillion naira to fix, and I said, instead of fixing, we could have used that money to continue to build. Why do we have to fix? So, yes, while I am not an advocate, so to speak, of protest, you know, because miscreants would always hijack. However, when you see other countries protesting, what are you, as a well-meaning person for your country, what are you doing? Do they serve as lessons? I mean, lives were lost, properties were destroyed, all kinds of things went wrong in Kenya. And the people resorted to that because they wanted the government to hear them. They wanted the government to listen to them. Why do governments push people to the, you know, to the breaking point where they say, okay, you know what, all die, you know, in local balance, all die, now die. Yeah. We are not going that route. But I'm just saying, why are we not proactive as a people? I mean, look at European countries. They do have protests and all of that. But you see, a lot of times, what they even protest about, like, you know, Africans will just look and laugh, yeah, this is what you're protesting about. If you come to Africa, the things that are facing here, okay, enduring. Yeah. You know, it may sound funny, but that's the truth. You know, the things that Africans, Nigerians, and, you know, other Africans have had to deal with, have to endure, has broken, you know, many nations. So, let's not even give the devil an opportunity to cause mayhem in our country as a government. Can you be sincere in the things you do?
I do think that where Kenya kind of missed it, you know, when it started out as a peaceful rally. It was a very peaceful protest. I watched some of the protests. You know, we even had representatives of the church, you know, they were praying and they were walking. You know, we want things to be better. We all want things to be good in the country. And so when the President Ruto responded by withdrawing that bill, right? So it was like purpose achieved. But then some said we must continue this protest, and this time we must insist that President Ruto resigns. And that's where the problem came in. Now the problem with rallies, you know, people are entitled to have peaceful rallies. As long as it's peaceful, it's all good and fine. But the problem with that is that almost all of the time it gets hijacked by criminal undesirable elements who now turn it into something else
to serve their own purpose.
To serve their own purpose, and of course government will respond in kind. You have people who are just waiting for the chaos so they can go and loot shops, destroy, you know, critical infrastructure, destroy things that belong to the people for no reason, for no apparent reason. And that's where they get it wrong. He cannot go right now. You have to wait for the next elections. So just because you want him to go, that does not mean he's going to do that.
To resign, in case you don't know.
Hello, whenever has an African resigned, they don't resign.
Even once the second term.
So he's going to be there until the next election. That's for sure. So what are you trying to achieve with these protests? protests now that are calling for his resignation. People are dying, people are getting injured. Is that what you wanted to do? Was that what you set out to do? So I think that's where they kind of got derailed, and it always happens usually and then, when it starts out.
So you just add to what you said when you were talking about people who would likely hijack. So you have looters waiting to loot, miscreants waiting to do their thing, and of course political rivalry also. Political rivalry where you see opposition will just be one opposition people will just be sitting down in one place and say this government will destabilize this government. This government will not stand because
you're hiding behind
it does not serve my purpose.
While you're
and so at the end of the day, the people are used to destroy themselves. So it just implodes inwards, and that becomes a problem. And so that's the reason why I said Nigerians really are they really interested in protest. It's not a way to go. I mean, a lot of Nigerians have come to understand that protest is not a way to go. Protest will cost you so much more. And really, who wants to die? That's the first question. Who wants to die? Die for who? Do you understand? So, where that may seem, sarcastic or funny to some people, but the truth is, really, Nigerians are very resilient people. But it's also a call, to government, don't push, and I'm not even talking about Nigeria alone. I'm talking about government all around the world. Don't push your people to a breaking point where they say, you know what, it is either this or this. There are no other. We're not backing down. We are not going backwards. We're set on this course. We must see it through. And a lot of times, it doesn't bode well for the country. It doesn't bode well for the people. And of course, let's also not forget external interference. Where they say, okay, this guy's not playing ball. Let's just, let's take him. Let's shake him a little. Let's not deceive ourselves. We have seen external interference in the affairs of African countries, especially when it doesn't serve the purpose of certain groups, certain people. And that's why you must not entangle yourself in detrimental relationships. That's why government should be careful. The kind of, let me not even name it. Recently in Nigeria, we heard about the one Samoa deal. That's still even on its own. All kinds of issues are brewing as it pertains to that government taking people to court. All kinds of things. And so I'm saying, before you sign the fine lines, can you read through? Does it align? Does the condition align with the, your vision for your country? Because I want to believe that everybody that comes, into that office, the top job, you have a vision, you have a plan, you know where you want to take your country for the next 4 years. I mean, if I, want to become president, for instance, I would look at the issues and I could say, you know what, I want to end insecurity. If that's the only thing I achieve in these 4 years that I'm going to be in the office, I'm going to, end insecurity, because I know that ending insecurity would translate to other, a boost in my economy, peace, attraction of FDIs, peace and tranquility, surplus and abundance. Farmers can go to farm, people can travel, all kinds of, my country will thrive. And so I channel energy, resources, everything into that and see through. And then I can now sit back to say, you know what, so what are the things that I need to do? I need a clear understanding. I need people who have an understanding of this, who can help this cause. Do I have the capacity as a nation? My security architecture, do we need to rejig? You put all of that into consideration and focus on it. If I don't have that vision and I just come, insecurity, we will deal with it. The economy will deal with it. This one, at the end of the day, you're forgetting that this is the one man that is killing everything. If you don't take out that strong man, you're not going anywhere in a hurry. And so you find that governments are expending energy, they're expending resources where they ordinarily shouldn't, because if you address this major problem,
it would have taken
settles
care of
every other thing else. So if I have that vision and I'm going to get into alliances with people, I am going to look at the fine lines. Okay, so I'm going to take this, I'm going to enter this security deal with you. How does it serve my purpose? How does it achieve my vision for my country in the next 4 years? What does it do for me? If it doesn't align with the laws of my country, if it doesn't align with my vision for my country, then I don't want to go there. But a lot of times you see, leaders don't even think that way. They just feel, okay, you know what, give us the money first. Let's pump the money into the different sectors, different things we want to do. When that money is there working, we can... It doesn't work like that. So you find that you have wasted time, you've wasted effort, you've wasted resources, both human and capital. human and financial resources. You've wasted all of that and achieved nothing.
True.
I do understand that we have a call at this time. Good morning and thank you very much for calling.
Hello.
Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning to you.
Please go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we
She's
can.
Akin from Bariga.
Please go ahead.
Go on.
You know, I heard what people have been saying.
Yes.
That some group want Nigeria is not adjust the Kenya are doing. Such a thing can easily happen in Nigeria because we have been pushed to the wall. The hungry is too much. Everything. The hungry is affecting everybody.
Okay, looks like the network is a little...
Okay, Akin, you're just coming and going. We do hope that the networks can stabilize so we can continue this conversation. Are you still with us? Akim, are you still there?
From them turning to riot and other things. So they can amend something what is going on in Nigeria because they have been pushed to the wall. Everybody has. So they need to amend what is going on in the country because the government has all this our rulers they are enjoying. We Nigerians are suffering.
Right.
So that's what I want to tell to say to put my own participation.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
I'm sure government officials.
Yeah, I wanted to say, remember to
Yes.
you know, reduce the volume on your TV set or probably walk away from it because I think he was trying to hear himself
on the TV.
Yes,
and then get
so
back
that's
to the
why
call.
we had those delays, and so we don't have feedback coming in.
Yes, but thank you very much, Akim, for your call. I will take that under advisory, of course, is a cry out to the government. And of course, what I wanted also to add, so why we hold government accountable for some of these things, I think as a people we need to hold ourselves
Absolutely.
accountable. Because
We also have a role
when
to
you go to give somebody your vote of confidence at the poll, when you you have that ink on your finger and you thumbprint a particular candidate to say, okay, you know what, this is the man I want to lead my future in the next 4 years. Whatever decisions that person takes, you're responsible also. You know, whether they're good, they're bad, or they're ugly. You made that decision, not the person, because did you consider the person's capabilities? Can the person, you also as a person, you have a dream. You have, we have another call. I'm going to hold that thought. Good morning. Thank you for calling.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning.
Timothy.
Please reduce the volume on your television.
Yeah, this is Timothy from Lagos.
Yes, Timothy, please reduce the volume on your TV set and then talk to us.
Yeah, I've done that. I've done
Thank you
that.
very much. Please go ahead.
Yeah, the situation in the country, the hunger in the country is very bad. Very bad. Everybody's feeling it. Everybody's feeling it, and you know, I don't want to be a prophet of doom. So I wouldn't pray for what happened in Kenya to happen in Nigeria. So we want our government to listen to our cry and, you know, do the right thing. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your
You know,
thought
Precious, a lot of times, and you remember, sometimes when people call in, they ask, is government even listening? Please help us tell government, this is what we want. Are they even listening? Are they even aware of our plight? So what I would recommend is for government to show the people that they are listening. Because I remember one of the speeches, one of the addresses that Kenya's President William Ruto made, he said is that we are going to have a conversation. We are going to talk about this. So that in that way, I am sure you hear me. If we have that conversation with government, you know, it could be a town hall, it could be whatever forum. But in that way, I'm assured that you are listening. Just in case you didn't know what we're going through. Mr. President said, this is what we're facing, this is what we're going through, and some of your policies are not making it easy for us. There has to be a better way to go about that. Just peradventure that they didn't hear. right? So I think that is what government can do immediately to assure Nigerians that they are listening and that they do really care. It is beyond telling someone to make sacrifices or tightening their belts. It goes beyond that. I need you to know that you're hearing me. I need to know that we are in this together and that we are making whatever sacrifices that need to be made. If there are any to be made, we are in this together. I don't want to be seeing you doing something else that suggests you're not perturbed at all. You're not touched by my plight or by, by my situation. So that is one thing that government can do immediately. Because people want to vent. Firstly, part of the reason why people go on rallies is to vent. So if you give them that opportunity to say their own bit and they're sure that you are listening as government, that on its own will take a lot of bite, or anger out of the people. And then, you should be seen to...
You're going to have to hold that thought. We don't have another call from Lagos at this time. Good morning and thank you for calling, Emmanuel. Good morning, Emmanuel.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Please go ahead.
Yeah, my name is Emmanuel. I'm calling from Lagos.
All right.
Please go ahead.
Hello?
Go ahead, we can hear you.
Emmanuel, continue.
Hello?
Wow. Okay, networks are
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear. Turn down the volume.
Hello?
Emmanuel, turn down the volume on your TV set so that way you can hear
The
us.
network is so bad. Hello?
We'll have to let Emmanuel go. Please call us back. Don't try to get to hear us. Just go ahead and make your contributions. We can hear you.
And then, of course, turn down the volume on your TV set. Or better still, step away from your TV set so we don't have that interference, that feedback from TV to phone. That tactic, we can avoid it. So, yes.
Yeah, so that's basically what I was saying, in relation to this story as an alternative to having a protest or a rally, because these things will always be hijacked. Let's face the truth.
Yes.
And once we begin to destroy our own infrastructure, we would still be the ones to suffer.
We're just creating more problems for ourselves.
We're just creating more problems. Believe me, it will not solve the situation. So I believe also that we are creative enough to take a different route, to address it in a different manner. Right? So, but I think one of the first things that has to happen is that conversation has to be held. For people to be sure, they want to be certain that government understands what they are saying.
And government is even hearing them.
Exactly, because sometimes, the divide is like this. They're there in the bubble. They don't go. I mean, they don't have to queue up in the filling stations and sit there for hours on end trying to get filled. Most likely they don't. So they don't feel what the people are feeling, and we need them to know what the people are feeling. Right?
I mean, Zoe, just to add to what you're saying, living in a bubble. So you're looking at the executive, you're looking at the the parliament, right? I'm thinking, are they in touch with the reality of the everyday Nigerian?
That's exactly what I'm saying.
I mean, you're just living in your ivory tower. I mean, for instance, the parliamentarians, you're sitting there just for one sitting, you're paid a huge allowance, you paid so much money to just sit down there and talk. Meanwhile, the everyday Nigerian is on the streets, hustling. Another question is, do your constituents even know you? Did they vote for you? And if they voted for you, they trusted you enough to give you that mandate to say, go represent us at this level. Go make laws for us that will make our lives a little bit more bearable. Have you done that? Do you have a conscience? Does your conscience even allow you to sleep at night? When you look at your activities for the day, you go through all that you've achieved so far, as a 10th parliament, not just the 10th parliament, as any parliamentarian, would you say with all boldness and all confidence that you have done right by your people? Then for the executive, so the president and his cabinet, like you said, do they queue up for fuel?
They don't.
Do they go to the market? The basic things that Nigerians do on a daily do they do those things so that you know, you can even serve as an eye opener to them to understand it? So when people are talking, they are not just, people are not complaining, they are speaking. Because you know, a lot of times it's easy to say, why are you complaining, why are you complaining? But understand, it's not complaint. If I come to you and say, Zoe, XYZ is what's on ground, XYZ is what I'm facing, I'm not happy about it, can you look it? I'm talking to you to see, and when I know that you have the power to change it, so I'm talking to you to say, this is my plight at this point in time, can you do something about it, because you have the power to do something. That's not me complaining. But a lot of times people don't have an understanding what a complaint is, or as you know, what a conversation is. They take it, so when you're talking and it's not in line with what they're doing, you're complaining. And so when the everyday Nigerian, so they can sit with their advisory, their special assistant, and all kinds of people they have around them, and don't mind them, they're complaining. But is it really a complaint? It's not a complaint. The people who are speaking their reality, and they're speaking because they think that you can do something about it, because they give you that, they put their trust in you. And so while we say government may not have all the answers, government is grappling, government is doing all kinds of things to bring solution. Can you even listen long enough to what the people want? And Nigerians don't want so much. Nigerians are not asking. Africans really, generally, don't ask for so much. The average African will ask for the basics.
Yeah. So
that I can make my life beautiful. I know you can't give me everything, but you see, that which you can do, can you just do, so that I can also, with my own, you know, strength, achieve what I want to achieve. So, you know, talking about listening, that's where listening on the part of government comes in.
Yeah.
Your ministers are not in touch with realities. They don't even know what the everyday market woman is facing, or the everyday Nigerian that goes to the market. Can you have a conversation? Can we talk? Even God himself says, come, let's reason. It's the same way you as a leader. I mean, as a president, you're the father of the nation. And your people say, Daddy, we want to see you. It's not hard, it's not difficult. Why can't you make time?
Absolutely. And then also, when it comes to, you know, we're always very quick to cite examples of how things are done in the Western countries, how that things are working, how that, you know, we should be more like them. We aspire to be like them in a lot of ways. But then there's some things we would rather not copy, you know. I mean, look at their own, now politics, one might argue, is the same across the board. It's about interest. We do agree with that. But also take a closer look at how the politicians behave, or how they comport themselves, or how they conduct themselves, because they know that the people have a whole lot more power than they are comfortable with. Indeed. And they can, in fact, it just takes, in some cases, it just takes a petition, a vote of no confidence for that person to resign, just honorably resign. There's no point, right? So some of these things that we'd rather not imbibe, we want to sit tight, we want to lord it over the people, we want to do whatever it is that we want to do anyways, regardless of who complains or who does not. You know, so I think we should also study more carefully. At least there are forums created for these conversations to be had, to be held, right? So we must, because we are progressing, right? We all like to consider ourselves as progressives. You know, we're becoming enlightened. We're becoming more in tune with our environment, and more politically aware, right? It needs to be seen on all fronts.
You know, so when we were talking, as we were talking, the major picture that came to mind for me was the UK, right? I mean, so if you do recall, at the time when David Cameron was the Prime Minister, and you had Nigel Farage as the UK Independent Party leader, you had some of the people there. This is talking about 2020, I think 2016, 17, that's just about that period. So you had all of that drama ongoing, and then the British people said, you know, some people were just pushing, oh, Brexit, we need to get out of the EU. I mean, who has died and made the EU our God and all of that, but Britain is giving so much and getting nothing back. And then Cameron says, okay, we'll go to a referendum, and if the British people want that exit, fine and good. And then they went to the referendum, and after the referendum, it was voted that Britain should leave
The EU.
the EU, and then that became the term
Brexit.
Right, and whether good or bad, the power of the people took center stage, and the Prime Minister had to respect the wish of the people. It didn't matter whether there were political undertones, it didn't matter whether there were political interests. It was just the wish of the people at the time. And so Brexit happened. Now, so many years down the line, so many prime ministers, you've had Theresa May, you've had Boris Johnson, you've had Liz Truss, you've had, what's his name now, Rishi Sunak, you've had all kinds of people. The Tories, the Conservatives, have, had been in power for quite a while. But July 4th saw another major change. We don't have a call. I'm going to hold my thoughts. Good morning, and thank you for calling.
Thank you.
Good morning, Felix.
No, good morning.
Good morning.
Please
go
go
ahead,
ahead.
please.
I have a contribution to this.
Please go ahead.
Go on.
Can I go ahead?
Yes, please.
Go
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Felix.
Yeah. Thank you. I just want to ask, those people, those groups that were advising that we should not abide the system of Kenya, are they benefiting from the government? Hello?
Yes, Felix, we can hear you.
Do they benefit from the system of Nigeria? Or do they go through what people are going through? Hello?
Is that a rhetorical question?
It's not clear. It's not clear.
So you're asking, what exactly are you asking if the group?
The question I ask,
Yes, please.
or I'm asking, is the group that is asking the masses that they should not go the way the Kenya goes. Are we discussing Kenya or discussing Nigeria? Do we really have government?
Is that a rhetorical question, or you want an answer to that?
Yes.
You want an answer, right? So
Thank you.
even though I'm not in a position to answer because I don't work with the group. However, here are my thoughts, right? The group
Thank you.
Yes, the group only advised don't go the route of Kenya because don't forget that people lost their lives, people were injured, infrastructures were destroyed.
Yeah. But listen, what prompted me to ask? What makes me to ask this question? Because what the masses are going through, is going through all area of life. Transportation, what we have, what is going on in the market, what the children are going through, even the adults, what we are going through is too much. That makes me to get conclusion in my mind that it's almost getting too late for this advice to come. And those who got this advice, they don't know what they are doing. They don't know what they are saying. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Felix.
Thank you for your thought, Phillips. That's your opinion. Anyway, the message here really is, when has protest ever helped anybody? What benefit has protest ever brought? While we are independent here, we're not on the side of government, we're not on the side of, we're just putting the facts out there as it were. How has, government been able to achieve anything because people protested? Yeah, there can be a change in decision, but in the long run, how does that translate to a better life for the people? When you protest, you burn your country down. Instead of building and moving forward, you're not looking for money to repair. Is that what we want? I mean, Nigeria has a lot of issues that we're grappling with. Do we think that a protest that will bring more mayhem to our country, do we think that that's the way to go? Is that the solution? Is that the only solution we can prefer at this time? It's just a question also. I'm throwing this question, to Nigerians. Yes, the hardship is much. People have all kinds of issues that they're grappling with right now. But will you compound it further with a protest that would naturally, and I dare say, unquestionably be hijacked by miscreants? Is that what we want? Where you're protesting about a government, meanwhile a shop owner in Lagos who's struggling to make her daily bread or his daily bread, his shop is looted. How does that, help that person? Have you not just brought more hardship on your brother, on your sister? So that's our thought, that we're putting out today. Government must listen to the people. Government must find solution to problems, that are bedeviling the country, both economically, security-wise, and every other way, that Nigerians are struggling. Government must find lasting solution, because you said you're the best man for the job. And so Nigerians, good or bad, entrusted you with that job. So you must make it work. You must make life bearable for the people. However, we will not by ourselves destroy our country because we want, we feel that that's the only way we can make our voices be heard. So that's our stance. However, I was back to the UK as an example, and so July 4th, the UK went to the polls again, and they said, okay, Tories, you haven't done very well. I mean, we've had all kinds of issues, inflation, everything, all kinds of bad things have come with you. You have failed the British people. Please step aside. And then Keir Starmer comes in, and then when you look at their campaign promises and all that, I mean, it really looks like the Labour Party, had their house in order. They knew what the issues were, and they were ready, to tackle all of these issues. And so, but I'm saying that to say that the people have a will, which brings me back to my earlier thought. As a people, whether our government, works or it doesn't work, it all depends on the choices that we make. People say, oh, they were rigged, the elections were rigged and all that. While I am not disputing whether they were rigged or not rigged, whether things happen or didn't happen, you can make it difficult for somebody to rig if you don't give him a number. So if every polling center for a particular candidate, a particular party reads 0, where are they going to get the numbers to forge? I'm just saying, at the end of the day, when you give them the numbers, they can manipulate the numbers. And so I'm saying that before you ink any candidate to say, I trust you, I'm putting my future for the next 4 years in your hand, what do you know about that person? Do you know the person's antecedents? Do you know the person's achievement? What has the person ever done? Do they know him in his constituency, for good or for bad? How do they know him? These are questions that we must ask. We can't, always put the cart before the horse. The horse must always be in front to lead. And so I say that, to say that we must do our own due diligence before we go to we go to the polls. Candidates are out there. We know them. Have you researched this candidate? What do you know about them? Or is it because they gave you a bag of rice and, 1 cup of rice and 1,000 naira? You think that's it? You think that's a sign of their allergies? Trust me, they will get into office and prove to you that rice you took, that 1,000 naira you took was your future for the next 4 years that you just ate. And then what do? And then we have, this kind of issues on our hands. So the onus is on us, the responsibility is on us. We must choose wisely. We must choose our leaders so that by the time you have chosen this person to say, okay, we trust you enough to go and do the job, when he's not doing the right thing, there are, tools for recall. We can put all of those to use. But a lot of times, we don't do that. Then the next thing, we want to protest, we want to fight, we want to shout. It doesn't serve the problem. It doesn't solve the problem. So that's my thought this morning. Where we feel that the government has a responsibility, we as a people, we also have a responsibility because we do elect our leaders, whether by hook or by crook, we do elect our leaders, and so at the end of the day, we must, bear the brunt of our decisions. Right, so I think we've come to the point where we say we're drawing the curtain on the front burner. We want to say thank you very much to all our callers, Felix, Timothy, several other people who called, Akim, and so even the dropped calls that we had. We want to say thank you very much for even making the effort, to call into the program this morning and share your thoughts. And thank you also, for staying with LN24/7, trusting us enough, to bring you all the right kind of information to kickstart your day on a very, very high note. So we'll go for a very quick break. When we return, there will be more. Stay with us.
24/7 is first of all a news station.
We'll continue with updates from the just concluded governorship
in the southeast has raised questions if INEC will be able to conduct elections.
With a core team of over 40 correspondents spread across Nigeria.
Nigeria is set to take its place.
The unions of aviation workers are out here protesting.
And affiliates in Africa, Europe, America, and Asia. We give you news as it breaks from the perspective you can trust. Ellen 24/7 News. Where the story goes, we go.
Ellen 24/7 lights up your day with unbeatable shows that guarantees absolute access to stories that revolves around politics, entertainment, and sports. Breaking news, plus detailed reports and analysis. At Ellen 24/7, where the story goes, we go.
What makes the political system what it is today? What are the recurring issues? Order. The tussle for power.
An extremely problematic area.
The tension. The instability of the system. Join Ellen 24/7 as we take you inside the local and international political arena in the world of politics.
Apologize for saying that I was corrupt. I'm not here to call out his lies. Everybody knows he's a liar.
Watch politics now on Ellen 24/7.
Don't miss Politics Now on Ellen 24/7.
Catch the thrills, and all passion of world's biggest sports fiesta. From July the 26th to August 11th, 2024 on Ellen 24/7 Network. Olympic 2024 game live on Ellen 24/7. Watch all the action as Nigerian stars shine to glory. For advert placement and sponsorship, call these numbers 081-367-99969, 070-542-81181, and 0802-332-2032. France 2024 Olympics. Games wide open. Faster. Higher. Stronger. Ellen 24/7. Where the news goes, we go.
Ellen 24/7 Sports is where to catch up with all the latest games in the world of football. Basketball, tennis, cricket. We got it. Catch up with Nigerian stars and diaspora. Scenes behind every match day, plus all the knockouts in the world of boxing. Never miss a game with Ellen 24/7 Sports.
At Ellen 24/7 Sports, football just got better. For the fans. For loyalty. For the tackles.
A near supernatural goal from Lionel Messi.
For
Well, it's great to have you back, and of course when you see that montage, you know what time it is. It's that time where we talk all things education, and of course we don't have a full house at this time, to deal with some education news stories, and of course we're hoping that we would have a discussion, if time permits us. We do hope that we can take that discussion. But our first education story this morning, the federal government has called on state governments to key into the homegrown school feeding program recently reintroduced in the country at a two-day strategic meeting which is held in Abuja. We do have a report that tells us more. Take a listen.
The Senior Special Assistant to President Tinubu on School Feeding Program, Dr. Yetunde Adeniji, made the call at a two-day strategic meeting. The meeting themed encouraging state-driven implementations and best practices for school feeding towards local agricultural value chain, community engagement and economic development, held in Abuja.
We've been talking to the state governors who ensure that they will do everything within their possible best to ensure that children are safe in schools, and that is why the Safe School Initiatives has actually come out. Governors are ensuring that schools are well fenced and well guarded within their community, so that these children will be able to learn proper and be free from any threats as it is. For these state program managers and focal persons to be able to go back to their states to convince their principals on the need to quickly, as a matter of urgency, start to feed children within states. The relationship for the program is between federal government and the state government.
The program manager for Nutrition and Food Safety, Africa Union Development Agency, New Partnership for African Development, Kefilwe Roba Malosi, while experiencing how the NEPAD commitment to partner with the Nigerian government on the initiative, called on other African leaders to emulate Nigeria for transitioning school feeding program from federal government-led to state government ownership.
We are domesticating what is called the Continental Homegrown School Feeding Guidelines. That is actually to really guide the member states to strengthen the program on homegrown school feeding programs.
It's a good one. We all realize with the current inflation on ground, the federal government cannot handle the school feeding program alone, and all partners need to come on board, and the state government are the beneficiaries of this, and the state governments have to come on board too to see how they can take responsibility of some of the
while disclosing that about 65 million children are now beneficiaries of the school feeding program in Africa, the African Union further called on African countries to emulate Nigeria's initiative.
That's it. The school feeding program, being reintroduced back into the country, and then of course Special Assistant to the Government on Nutrition is also calling on state governors to key into the program to ensure that it's not just at the federal level but also at the state level.
I think it's a good achievement, and we've reiterated this on several occasions on this platform, and the importance of the school feeding program across the board. So sometimes we find that state schools or schools within the states are kind of left out, and they don't always benefit from federal government initiatives all the time. So the call is clear. States should key into this and make sure that schools within their region, they have that school feeding program. It will help the students, it will help the pupils rather focus. It makes them better students, and what you want to achieve by educating them, you will be able to achieve. So it's a vital aspect of education as a whole. I'd like to see it that way. So states should key in, do what they have to do. If they need to partner or team up with private organizations or bodies, there are NGOs that are about that. So before you shout, we cannot look around. There are probably some bodies, some organizations that are willing, they're ready to step in and meet and bridge that gap.
Yes, I completely agree with both of you, because calling on the state government to get themselves involved, once they get involved, at least this program would get to the inner communities, because and there are some communities most of the time that have been left out, in so many government things and all of that, like especially good initiatives, that can help the community. So once the state government actually key into this, it will help to push these programs into the deeper communities who actually need most of all these programs. And I mean, I believe it's a good step forward.
Yeah.
Yes.
It is.
Yes, that's right. I think you have the next story.
All right, the next story talks about the federal government says it has started the implementation of the Universal Basic Education UBE Effective School Program in 111 schools across Nigeria. The Executive Secretary, Universal Basic Education Commission, or UBEC, Dr. Hamid Boboyi, says that the initiative would improve education quality and address key challenges within the system. We have a report.
The Executive Secretary, Universal Basic Education Commission, Dr. Hamid, while making the announcement at the commencement of the program at the meeting with state UBEC coordinating directors and the head teachers of the selected schools in Abuja, said that the initiative would improve education quality and address key challenges within the system. Represented by the Deputy Executive Secretary, Rob Boyi, highlighted that the initiative is aimed at equipping students with the skills necessary for better academic performance and the 21st century knowledge, among others.
Our belief in the capacity of the education system to reinvent itself, address notable challenges, and work towards sustainable progress, especially in learning achievement, has strengthened our resolve to seek complementary pathways for supporting state efforts, as this will be the most reliable guarantee of improved outcomes. I am pleased to inform you that we have made significant strides in this direction, including procurement and distribution of instructional materials to all the 111 effective schools, provision of tablets and installation of satellite-based learning equipment, training of head teachers and teachers in ICT pedagogy, among others.
In his remarks, UBEC Director of Social Mobilization, Dr. Osom, also pointed out the crucial role of head teachers in the UBE Effective Schools program's success, reminding them of the significant responsibilities they bear.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, of course, and this is like it actually makes a lot of sense, and they are calling them for all of this and to implement like an effective school feeding program. And yes, very necessary. I mean, what do you think?
It's not the school. We've talked about the school feeding program. So I was asking you.
Universal Basic
what's the implication of that?
Universal Basic Education. So under the commission, it basically deals with early education.
Okay.
Yes. So you have the basic, you have the primary, and then you have the first part of the secondary, the first 3 years of secondary. So that's what it deals with. That's what a UBE deals with. And a lot of times, yes, it's a government agency, but of course with in partnership with the states. And so we've talked about curriculum a lot of times. We've talked about how that our curriculum, and that's not just all they do. They do a lot of other things. For instance, the Universal Basic Education Board oversees construction of schools, ensures that schools are adequately fitted out to for learning, safe environment for children to learn, conducive environment, for children to come in to learn. So they are about curriculum, the books, lectures, everything that has to do with education at that level. That's what the Universal Basic Education Board is about. Education Commission is about, and of course they have this. They have it at the state levels. That's why you have State Universal Basic Education Commission, SUBEB, board for the other states. And so, yes, the effective schooling project for schools. That's just also to ensure that because UBEC on its own has programs that are geared towards ensuring that children are their learning processes are up to date to global standards, and so they keep reviewing, they keep renewing, and then they keep introducing new initiatives, new programs, new teaching methods, effective learning methods for students. And so this is where UBEC is ensuring that happens for them at that level. For the schools.
And then they're doing this for 111 schools. 11
schools across the country.
Good, good. All right, looks like you have the next
story. All right, so
story.
let's take the next story. And this one's in TED Fund, one of my favorites. So it says the Tertiary Education Trust Fund, TED Fund, has charged lecturers overseeing career centers and colleges of education to develop skills in modern technology and pass on relevant knowledge to students to make them employable and competitive with their peers globally. There's a report. Please take a listen.
Of TED Fund, Sonny Ekono gave the charge at a one-day workshop on emerging areas of students' needs in beneficiary institutions organized by the fund in Abuja. Ekono said that the workshop was conceived mainly for the purpose of brainstorming over some identified areas of intervention that they are seen to be highly beneficial not only to the institutions but also to students who are the ultimate beneficiaries of all interventions in the tertiary institutions.
For our growing population, this huge youthful population we have no choice but to find a way of preparing them. We will never have enough resources, despite all the best efforts of government or the private sector, to provide schools, classrooms, hostels. We are never going to be able to do physical infrastructure that will cope with these numbers. That is why we must leverage on technology, particularly ICT.
In his remarks, the National President, Colleges of Education Academic Staff Union, Dr. Smart Olubeko, called on TED Fund to upscale its monitoring and evaluation activities in these centers, warning that no matter the level of intervention provided, a deficient monitoring function will not produce anything meaningful from them.
One of the major areas of concern which employer of labors have been talking about is the area of employability. Whether our graduates, whether our products are actually employable. And it is not just about the content of what we teach in our various schools. It's also about how we have prepared our graduates, our students, for them to be able to become employable when they leave the various institutions.
While commending the fund for the intervention on career centers in colleges of education and other tertiary institutions in the country, the Executive Secretary, National Commission for Colleges of Education, Professor Paulinus Okewele, revealed that the colleges have been empowered by the law to also run degree programs in addition to training teachers for the basic education subsector. Recall that TED Fund recently introduced career services centers to complement other programs in tertiary institutions in Nigeria.
Right. TED Fund, calling on lecturers to make students globally competitive with tech skills. I do recall when UBEC set up those career centers in polytechnics and other institutions. I was really excited because it just goes beyond. It goes beyond what the theoretical part of their studies. It goes beyond all of that, and so they are being called on to ensure that. So they have the theoretical part. These career centers are supposed to serve as streamlining centers for students. And a lot of times when in school, you do majors and electives, and so these career centers are supposed to help fine-tune their focus on the different careers that they're embarking on. And then in those centers, there are tech tools. It's set up to actually ensure that whatever you've learned, you're fine-tuned here, using technology and every other thing to get a better understanding of their career, your chosen career path, so that at the end of the day you can, come out well-rounded. And so, yeah, so I feel like this call, it goes beyond just setting up those centers. This call it goes beyond the responsibility of lecturers, where lecturers feel like, I beg, they've gone through 4 years, so let's just brush up. It calls for a thorough thorough implementation of whatever the centers are there for, whatever the career courses are there for, a thorough implementation of those skills and those tools that they're supposed to deploy to achieve their set goals.
Yeah. So. For me, what I do find interesting, or what sort of caught my attention, was the modern technology skills, right? Because for me, the skills in this case are, they're like a convergence for previous skills, for new skills, like it all comes together. So when you add modern technology skills to what they already know, or whatever career direction they are already in, you have things, for instance, like social media engagement. So how can social media engagement help me in my career, say as a fashion designer, right, as a baker, as a caterer, for instance. So these are career directions, and these might be some things that are being taught in these colleges of education. So technological skills, for instance, how can I become an influencer? Or maybe it has to do with online courses, either studying online courses or even creating online courses in your field. So that's what I understand by the imbibing the modern technology skills, because that is what you will need to take your career or whatever to the next level. That is where you need to be to thrive in the direction that the world is going. It's just like right now you say you have a business. People are not yet conversant, or they're not yet used to the idea that you also need your social media to expand, engage with your clients, your customers one-on-one, and all of that. This is a good way to introduce that. So that's that for me.
Yes, because and the way the world is actually going, it's all global, and like if you recall, when the TED Fund was calling for them to for the lecturers and to have these modern tech skills so that they can pass these skills on, and they can pass it to the, to the students in the career centers. Because yes, that's a very good call, because you can't give what you don't have. Yes, so if these lecturers possess this modern technological skills so that they can pass it on, it's a circle. It keeps on going and going and going, because you can't give what you don't have. A lot of our older professors now, like a lot of them might be struggling with, learning some of all these tech things. So yes, it's a good call for them to key into it, because that's how the world is moving. And without this, just as you said, you cannot say you have a business and you're on social media. That's, what are you doing? Indeed. Exactly.
And so these career centers have become very important resource centers within the schools, where students can be, probably help to find jobs, and then of course develop professional skills as well. So it was a kudos to the TED Fund for setting up such centers in the schools. Well, our next story, the Director General of the National Youth Service Corps, NYSC, Brigadier General Yushua Ahmed, has called on state governors in the country to entice corps members deployed to their state for the compulsory one-year service. Ahmed, who said this at the Niger State Orientation Camp located at Paiko, was reacting to the mouth-watering packages of 200,000 naira to each corps member on camp by the governor during the swearing-in ceremony for the 2024 Batch B Stream 1 orientation course for corps members, also assured them of adequate security. To take a listen to the report.
The NYSC DG, Brigadier General Yushua Ahmed, was accompanied to the Niger State Orientation Camp in Paiko by the State Governor and his Deputy Yakubu Garba, the Minister of Youth Development, Jamila Ibrahim, the State Coordinator Abdul Wahab Olainka, among other dignitaries. Shortly after the swearing-in ceremony, the DG said he was happy that the orientation camp is getting the needed attention, as a new one will be constructed by the state government.
Show him the importance of having a permanent orientation camp, at least the one that will meet the test of the time, and that will be able to accommodate large number of corps members. And he has actually accepted to do so, and that is why he made it public this morning. I'm actually certain it will go a long way to assist the core members who are meant to serve the interests of the state.
On the 200,000 naira, the governor promised to pay each 1,300 core member on camp and other pledges. Ahmed urged other state governors to emulate the Niger state governor.
It is a welcome development. I'm very excited. You can see the core members are very happy, and I believe other governors can emulate him and do same. These are young Nigerians who are prepared to coming from diverse states. I believe too, if other governors in other states can do same, it will go a long way in encouraging the youth core members.
While speaking on the safety and security of core members, the NYSC DG said
them, so long as they keep into whatever thing that we tell them, their security is guaranteed.
He therefore revealed that as soon as the minimum wage is done, the core members' monthly allowance will be looked into. Earlier, Governor Umar Bago announced a gift of 200,000 naira to each core member on camp, with the promise that all those who are in the medical line have automatic employment.
What we've done this morning to give you 5 billion naira to build a new camp is through agriculture. To give each corps member 200,000 naira token is through agriculture. To give you rice trailer load is through agriculture. To give you 20 cattle is through agriculture. It means there is prosperity in agriculture.
In her address, the Minister of Youth Development, Jamila Ibrahim, announced the ministry has an initiative to empower 5,000 NYSC members with 10 million naira each for entrepreneurial ventures upon completion of their service.
Reforms as well. I am also pleased to announce that the Federal Ministry of Youth Development is partnering with the government of Niger State and the NYSC for a scheme to boost food production, thereby making the NYSC a self-sustaining agency while addressing the food insecurity challenges that the country is faced with.
Earlier, NYSC State Coordinator Abdul Wahab Olainka warned the core members against using social media to spread fake news.
I also urge you to avoid using social media for spreading fake news, fueling hatred, and other negative purposes.
The oath of allegiance was administered to the core members by the Niger State Chief Judge Halima Abdul Malik, who was represented by a High Court Judge Maria Ismail.
Right, DG/NYSC calling on state governors to entice core members who have been deployed to their states for 1 year to make them stay. I mean, Zoe, we've had conversations on, national youth corps members who are deployed to states. We've talked repeatedly about the, security as it pertains to them. And I do recall that one of those times we did hear about people, corps members who were kidnapped, by bandits and all of that, which, in itself became a source of challenge for a lot of people. And so you found that when people were deployed to those flash zones, as we call them, especially in the northern part of the country, you find people not wanting to show up because security is not assured. But this is heartening to know that I think also Umar Bago understanding that the National Youth Service Corps, those young people, they bring a unique kind of experience, to the place. So while it affords them the opportunity to learn about Niger State, it also affords the state the opportunity to gain insights, to gain creativity, innovation, and service, from these young people. And so he has decided to, and he has redeemed that money, by the way. Every corps member who was on camp, over 1,000 of them, they got 200,000 each. And then, of course, he also assured of their security while serving for the next 1 year, while serving in the state. It just shows how committed some governors are to building their states and, opening up, making it more attractive for more people, to come here. And, the entrance of new corps members, I'm very certain that they come from the different parts of the country. As they come in and they go back home with testimonies of how wonderful the environment was for them, I'm sure it makes that state attractive for other people to want to come, in and explore. So it is a very good move on the part of the governor, to not just entice them, show appreciation. I don't like the word entice. Show appreciation.
You just took the words right out of my
I don't
mouth.
like that word.
I don't know if I would use the word entice, because that suggests I'm trying to make you do something against your will, you know, that kind of a thing. But I think it was more of call it an incentive. I think that's a better suited word. Appreciation. And I do think also that it should go beyond you know, the monetary or the remuneration that they were given. For instance, I had a beautiful experience, you know, during my youth service, and I recall that even after the service, I stayed on for like 3 extra months because I was very happy. I didn't want to leave, right? I didn't want to leave, and so I'm thinking, as part of that, you can also make it possible for some core members who wish to stay on to have employment, really, you know, because if I'd gotten employment, you know, who knows, I would probably have stayed on, you know, but when I looked around, okay, it wasn't looking like it was going to happen. I had to go back home.
My own time, I was okay, so now can I say enticed?
No, I was not enticed.
My own time, you know, it wasn't really an enticement. It was just, I think, because, you know, when you're diligent, you know, wherever, in whatever capacity that you find yourself, people just want you around. When I served in Ebonyi, I served at the Universal Basic Education Board, SUBEB, you know, the State's Basic Education Board. That's where I served, you know, as one of the executive assistants to the executive chairman. You know, the executive, Secretary 1 and 2, both of them, they wanted me to stay back. They said, Copper, don't go. Copper, stay. We like you. We like your work. But of course, at that point, I was missing home to body. And, you know, just for the record, that was the first time I was leaving home where I didn't have anybody. I didn't have any relative, nobody. I mean, my folks are in Benin, they're in Lagos, Warri, different Port Harcourt, different parts. But I didn't have anybody in the East. So going to Ebonyi was a culture shock for me, one. Then it was, you know, away from home, like fish out of water. But I had a fantastic experience there. I really loved the people, their warmth, you know, their ability to just make you feel like you're home. You know, even though your parents are not around, you have adopted parents there. So they made my experience there very wonderful. But there was still nothing like my mom's pot of soup. I needed together. So for me, that was it. But if it wasn't for that, I think I would have, you know, wanted to stay back, you know, and just experience the life, you know, in Ebonyi State. But like you rightfully said, there are people who may want to stay back. Make the environment more conducive for them, you know, to stay back.
Yeah, of course, because and there is nothing compared to a conducive environment. Yes, like it makes you happy, it makes you relax, you know, like it makes you even want to do more than expected. Yes, so making conducive environment, you know, for this NYSC corpers in the state and even wherever, you know, like in the subsections and you're being posted to and all of that, it will make them even want to do more. I mean, and the whole purpose of the NYSC is to serve the nation. Yes. So yeah, appreciating them, you know, appreciating them, commending them, making them wanna, you know, making them just feel safe. Because once you feel safe in an environment, you want to stay, you know, and you want to know what that environment has to offer you. So yes, it's good. The monetary thing, I mean, right now, I mean, everybody knows that if you give a person money, I mean, person want to stay, you know. Yeah, there's the way money moves people. So yeah, and all of that, it's necessary. It's necessary, yes.
Right, it is necessary. Umar Bago, the star governor right now, I mean, you know, for core members, is just, I'm sure several core members are wishing, I wish my state governor, you know, is like this man, will do the same thing for us. I mean, it will make this service here just very creamy and sweet. But that's just Umar Bago trying to build his state. I'm sure other states can take a leaf out of his book and, you know, look for what more they can do to keep. I mean, these are vibrant young people that can impact positively the education system, because a lot of times they are deployed to schools to teach. A lot of times that's where you find core members mostly, and so these are young people that can bring their wealth of experience, all that they know fresh out of school, you know, bring all that beautiful knowledge and beautiful experience to bear on different areas where they're going to be deployed. So governors should do more, you know, to make them feel more appreciated. It may not be monetarily, but just making the environment conducive and safe for them to thrive, you know, would spell good for the country also. But like we always say, all good things must come to an end. All the education news are brought to you today must come to an end now, because it's time to move on to other aspects of the morning show. We still got so much lined up for you, you know, at this time onto this edition of the program. So having said that, we'll go for a very quick break and return shortly. Stay with us.
Ellen 24/7 is first of all a news station.
We'll continue with updates from the just concluded governorship
in the southeast. Has raised questions if INEC will be able to conduct elections.
The whole team of over 40 correspondents spread across Nigeria.
Nigeria is set to take its place.
The unions of aviation workers are out here protesting,
and affiliates in Africa, Europe, America, and Asia. Give you news as it breaks from the perspective you can trust. Ellen 24/7 News, where the story goes, we go.
Ellen 24/7 lights up your day with unbeatable shows that guarantees absolute access to stories that revolves around politics, entertainment, and sports. Breaking news, plus detailed reports and analysis. At Ellen 24/7, where the story goes, we go.
what makes the political system what it is today? What are the recurring issues? Tussle for power.
An extremely problematic area.
The tension. The instability of the system. Join Ellen 24/7 as we take you inside the local and international political arena in the world of politics.
Apologize for that I corrupt. I'm not here to call out his lies. Everybody knows he's a liar.
Watch politics now on Ellen 24/7.
Don't miss Politics Now on Ellen 24/7.
Stay up to date with Ellen 24/7. Ellen 24/7. With news, politics, business, sports, and more on Ellen 24/7. Where the story goes, we go.
Well, it's great to have you back. Top of the hour, it's time to bring you some news updates. And our first story is from our home front, Nigeria, where the government has released 1.23 trillion naira to 17 ministries for the execution of capital projects in the third quarter of 2023. Now, according to the budget implementation report for third quarter 2023 released by the Budget Office, 75.4% lower than the 5 trillion naira allocated for capital expenditure in the 2023 budget, resulted in a deficit of 3.8 trillion naira. The fund was aimed at advancing government and infrastructure initiatives as of September 30, 2023. Capital projects are major investments in physical infrastructure or assets that are expected to provide long-term benefits. These projects usually involve the construction, acquisition, or renovation of tangible assets such as buildings, roads, bridges, dams, schools, hospitals, and other facilities. The report also showed that the ministries only utilized 962.8 billion naira out of the cash backing of 1.23 trillion naira.
Well, still in Nigeria, in the face of increased medical tourism and inadequate health services in the country, there is a glimpse of hope as Lovewood Medical Center launches nuclear medicine in addition to its already numerous array of medical services. The launch took place at a symposium which was organized by the medical outfit. Health correspondent Olasumbo Okoromi was there, and she takes it from here.
Medical Center, a state-of-the-art multi-specialist hospital located in the heart of Ikeja, Lagos, Southwest Nigeria, held a first-of-its-kind symposium on radionuclide therapy and oncology, which was themed Evolving Role of Nuclear Medicine, Personalized and Precision Medicine.
In the medical sector is a fruit of the healing ministry of the man of God, because of his compassion for the sick and the vision that God gave to him. Amazing.
Radiotherapy is a relatively new cancer treatment that uses small amounts of radioactive materials to kill cancer cells or slow their growth. With these in view, the symposium was targeted to bring to the forefront the advancement of nuclear medicine. The head of Department of Radionuclear Therapy at the Lovewood Medical Center, Dr. Marsha Maraj, spoke on how radionuclear therapy is a better option in the diagnosis and treatment of cancer.
Chemotherapy is a blanket that covers both normal and abnormal cells. It doesn't matter where those normal and abnormal cells are. So, yes, it attacks them all equally. So the patient suffers from their normal cell loss, and that results in a lot of the complications and side effects that they end up trying to be treated for instead of just the cancer. Nuclear medicine, it is directly targeting the cancer cell itself, either on the cell membrane, and we're talking about cells here, so we're not talking about just a mass. That cell, that's the basis of that mass, is being addressed. It doesn't matter where that cell is. If that cell is circulating in the bloodstream, that cell is being addressed only. It's precision medicine. And that is exactly what reduces side effects and improves life.
One of the major highlights of the event was a guided tour of the facility, which was moderated by the Chief Operating Officer of Lovewood Medical Center, Dr. Anthony Osagle. Dr. Anthony said the health innovation will curb the spate of medical tourism, as Lovewood Medical Center has the state-of-the-art medical equipment to cater to every aspect of medicine.
Medical workers don't come cheap too. Good medical workers. And with the unfortunate Japa syndrome, a lot of good hands have left the country. The cost of flight tickets out of the country now. Now, whatever it is that you are going to get outside this country, you can get it here. So maybe your flight tickets could just handle all your costs. But if you go outside the country, you pay your flight tickets, you pay for accommodation, you are still going to pay for the treatment itself, which of course will be multiples of even your flight ticket and the accommodation that are going out there for.
According to recent data from CBN's balance of payment compilation, spanning the first 6 months of 2023, Nigerians spent over $245 million on overseas health-related issues. With a multi-specialist hospital like the Lawward Medical Center, it certainly shows that the days of foreign exchange laws and capital flight from medical tourism are numbered. Olasumbo Koromi, reporting for LN24/7, Lagos, Nigeria.
Meanwhile, astute legal practitioner, pastor and author Adebisi Shogunle had a book launch for his latest contribution to the intellectual space in Lagos, Southwest Nigeria. Hen Williams was at the event and filed in to support. Take a listen.
It was a gathering of distinguished personalities from the private sector, government functionaries, the judiciary, including top rank and file of the Loveworld Incorporated, also known as Christ Embassy. They all came to celebrate the literary excellence and contribution to the intellectual space. The book, A Practical Guide to Public-Private Partnership in Nigeria. Opportunities were given to special guests to reflect on the occasion and invaluable contribution by the author to bridging the gap in knowledge in the area of private-public partnership.
I've realized also as a minister for 8 years that there is this gap between the government and the private sector. They are unable to talk to one another. They always talk at one another. That is why the kind of relationship that we have added value to their assets are always not present.
Our countries needed to give knowledge on how to leverage or the partnership that could exist between the public and the private sector. I tell you, it's a learning process. Things are still a work in progress. We're not yet there, but I believe this book will help many. And my prayer is that it will help in making, it will contribute to effective and faster development in our nation, Nigeria.
You can be certain that the content of this book, which we're launching today, will be rich with quality and information that will impact and transform the public-private partnership arrangements in Nigeria and the regions beyond.
It was time for the unveiling, which was followed by a vote of thanks from the host.
Practical guide to public-private enlightenment.
Congratulations once again. As a chief hunter at the official launch of the official launch for the Practical Guide to Public-Private Partnership Network in Nigeria, I will share the hot copy with
Other guests at the occasion seized the opportunity to express their views on the occasion.
I'm looking forward to reading this one because I'm a business person and I'm also looking forward to going into partnership.
It's a very unique kind of launch. It's not the usual book launch we witness every other time. The focus is public-private partnership, which of course is a vehicle for development, it's a vehicle for progress. If we must live where we are and get to where we aspire to be, PPP is the way to go.
The knowledge has come to them now, and I think what we are going to take away from this particular experience is that with the book and with the conversation, a better understanding of PPP will be
will be what we'll be experiencing in our nation, both at the public sector and at the private sector.
Henry Williams, reporting for LN24/7.
Well, also in the news, Nigeria's President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has appointed the President of Senegal, Bassirou Faye, as the special mediator between ECOWAS and Mali, Burkina Faso and Niger Republic. Tinubu was first elected in July 2023 in Guinea-Bissau and re-elected at the 65th ordinary session of the Authority of ECOWAS Heads of State and Government on Sunday in Abuja, Nigeria's capital. In his acceptance speech after his re-election, the Nigerian president said his leadership will continue to strengthen democracy among member nations of the West African bloc.
I'm also fully aware of other challenges confronting our region, especially the economic hurdles that hinder our progress. To elevate our people from poverty to prosperity, it is imperative that we unite as a community and develop innovative approaches to unleash our vast economic potential. We must continue to identify and develop partnerships that promote investment in key sectors and promote regional trade. Furthermore, we must invest in our infrastructure and cultivate a conducive business environment to empower our communities to stimulate growth and build resilience against external shocks. Together we can pave the way for a prosperous future for all ECOWAS. So brief. Having a new mandate, I will request Mr. Faye to please become our special envoy along Togo to do a round clock walk with our brothers in Mali, Burkina Faso and Niger, and coordinate with me if necessary and with the Commission.
The elections that have taken place so far this year and those that took place last year here in Nigeria, in Guinea-Bissau, in Sierra Leone and Liberia show that despite all odds, democracy is alive in our region. We look forward to the consolidation of this trend in the region as we prepare for a major election in Ghana later this year. Excellencies, reminding ourselves of these positive developments is not in any form an exercise in self-glorification. Rather, it is a recognition of the progress we as a community have made.
Well, it's great to have you back. Now, U.S. troops have completed a withdrawal from their base in Niger's capital, Niamey, and will fully depart from Agadez in the north of the West African country before a September 15 deadline. This deadline was set by the country's military rulers, and this is coming from the Nigerian Army Chief of Staff. Niger's military leaders scrapped a military cooperation deal with Washington in March after seizing power in a July 2023 coup. The United States had around 650 soldiers in Niger as part of anti-jihadist missions in several Sahel nations of West Africa, including a major drone base near Agadez.
Well, in the meantime, the West African bloc ECOWAS has warned the region faces disintegration after the military rulers of Niger, Mali and Burkina Faso cemented a breakaway union. The three countries formed a confederation of Sahel states at a meeting on the eve of the Economic Community of West African States Leaders Summit, marking another test for the bloc they declared they were splitting from earlier this year.
To complicate the situation, our region has become the arena of geostrategic and geopolitical rivalries and the theater of misinformation and disinformation that engenders mistrust among and within communities and undermines.
We don't only share borders, we share families, we share communities, and the leaders are determined to do everything possible to keep our community together. ECOWAS is not about heads of state. ECOWAS is a community of people. It's a community of people that must stay together.
And in more international news, we go to Europe now, where on just a few days in office, UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer held talks with representatives from parties in the Northern Ireland executive, speaking to reporters. Starmer says the visit is a clear statement of intent on the importance of the Northern Ireland to me and my government, and of course about resetting relationships and moving forward in a collaborative way, Starmer is quoted as saying.
Good morning, and thank you for being here. I've had the opportunity this morning to have discussions with the First Minister, the Deputy First Minister, and all of the political parties in the Northern Ireland Executive. And I've made clear that being here on day 3 of the new Labour government is a clear statement of intent about the importance of Northern Ireland to me and my government, about resetting relationships and moving forward in a respectful, collaborative. I'm absolutely committed to the Good Friday Agreement, and today is a recommitment to that and to the approach and the role of the UK government in that as the honest broker. I'm the Prime Minister for the whole of the UK, elected into office just a few days ago, but to reaffirm the importance and the principles of the Good Friday Agreement is part and parcel of why I'm here today. You're right to say that we want to improve relations with the EU. We think we can get a better deal than the botched deal that Boris Johnson brought home, and we will work on that, understanding the work that needs to be done and the nature of the challenge, but yes, we do want to improve that relationship. In the meantime, we do have to get on with implementing the important changes that are necessary under the existing arrangements that we've got, because we're not going to be able to get a better relationship unless we demonstrate a commitment to the relationship and the agreements that have already been put in place. So we'll be doing both of those things, but we do that with a very strong mandate now, a very strong mandate for change, for a different relationship with the EU, a different way of doing politics, and we go forward in that spirit.
That takes us to business now. For the Nigerian manufacturing sector and their products to compete favorably with their developed nations' counterparts, they must embrace computer-aided engineering and artificial intelligence. This was part of the outcome at the end of a 2-day knowledge-sharing workshop, the third of its series, organized by the Federal University of Technology, Minna, in collaboration with the University of Abuja Higher Education Partnerships in Sub-Saharan Africa, HEPSA, held in Minna, the Niger State capital, Nigeria's north central.
Deploying the computer-aided engineering now, together with artificial intelligence, will now tend to give our students that capacity to be able to optimize resources and also material, so that we have a better design. Also, the artificial intelligence will give our engineering graduate, particularly mechanical engineering, the capacity to make informed decisions in their design process, so that it doesn't involve trial and error any longer.
A graduate who finished mechanical engineering will be able to work in any manufacturing concern without having to be retrained after graduation. That is one. We also highlighted the need for government to have the synergy with industrial organization as well as academy. The need to make sure that the infrastructure that are needed for this curricula to be able to take its course are provided.
We encourage and support the participation of girls and women in engineering, ensuring that our profession benefits from diverse perspectives and talents. Let us continue to inspire and empower the next generation of engineers, regardless of gender or background.
Right, and that has brought us full cycle on this aspect of the morning show. That's the news now. You can stay with LN 24/7, all LN 24/7 platforms, and of course our website at www.ln247.news for further news coverage, as we have subsequent bulletins coming up much later in the day. But Zoe, I mean, news updates signals a wrap-up of the first half, you know, of the morning show. I've had so much fun, you know, you with Nzubechukwu Anudo, you know, just talking all kinds of things, you know, especially education. I mean, that's my bias, right?
Right, we'll go on a break, but we will return with developing stories, which will see Emmanuel Abia take it on from here. Stay tuned.
Stay up to date with LN 24/7. LN 24/7. With news, politics, business, sports, and more on LN 24/7. Where the story goes, we go.
LN 24/7 is first of all a news station.
Well, we'll continue with updates from the just concluded governorship
in the southeast has raised questions if INEC will be able to conduct elections.
With a core team of over 40 correspondents spread across Nigeria.
Nigeria is set to take its place.
The unions of aviation workers are out here protesting.
And affiliates in Africa, Europe, America, and Asia. We give you news as it breaks from the perspective you can trust. LN 24/7 News, where the story goes, we go.
LN 24/7 lights up your day with unbeatable shows that guarantees absolute access to stories that revolves around politics, entertainment, and sports. Breaking news, plus detailed reports and analysis. At LN 24/7, where the story goes, we go.
Catch the thrills, and all passion of world's biggest sports fiesta. From July the 26th to August the 11th, 2024 on LN 24/7 Network. Olympic 2024 game live on LN 24/7. Watch all the action. Nigerian stars shine to glory. For advert placement and sponsorship, call these numbers: 081-367-99969, 070-542-81181, and 0802-332-2032. France 2024 Olympics. Games wide open. Faster. Higher. Stronger. LN 24/7. Where the news goes, we go.
24/7 is first of all a news station.
Well, we'll continue with updates from the just concluded governorship
In the southeast, has raised questions if INEC will be able to conduct elections.
With a core team of over 40 correspondents spread across Nigeria.
Nigeria is set to take its place.
The unions of aviation workers are out here protesting.
And affiliates in Africa, Europe, America, and Asia. We give you news as it breaks from the perspective you can trust.
Ellen 24/7 News, where the story goes, we go.
What makes the political system what it is today? What are the recurring issues? Order. The tussle for power.
An extremely problematic area.
The tension. The instability of the system. Join Ellen 24/7 as we take you inside the local and international political arena in the world of politics.
Apologize for saying that I was corrupt. I'm not here to call out his lies. Everybody knows he's a liar.
Watch politics now on Ellen 24/7.
Don't miss Politics Now on Ellen 24/7.
Catch the thrills, and all passion of world's biggest sports fiesta. From July the 26th to August 11th, 2024 on Ellen 24/7 Network. Olympic 2024 game live on Ellen 24/7. Watch all the action as Nigerian stars shine to glory. For ad replacement and sponsorship, call these numbers 081-367-99969, 070-542-81181, and 0802-332-2032. France 2024 Olympics. Games wide open. Faster. Higher. Stronger. Ellen 24/7, where the news goes, we go.
All right, it's time for developing stories on this morning. Of course, a lot is happening in Nigeria, and some protests have been started in different parts of Nigeria. Now, let's start with the first one. Now, man threatens suicide over hardship by climbing mast in of course. Okay. A middle-aged man Monday morning climbed a broadcast mast at Katampe Hills in Abuja, threatening to kill himself if the federal government fails to revert its policy on subsidy removal and address the current hardship in the country. Now, the man, identified as Shuaibu Alhaji Yusuf from Maiduguri, Borno State, dropped a handwritten note demanding an end to issues of insecurity in parts of the northeast and the northwest, making this 9-point demands from the federal government. The man said, on behalf of the fellow Nigerians, I demand the following. Government should return fuel subsidy. The government should declare a state of emergency in Zamfara, Sokoto, Kebbi, Katsina, Kaduna, Niger, and Borno on insecurity matters, and take immediate action to clear that terrorism in the above listed state and the country at large. Government should also open borders for food importation in order to eradicate food shortages in the country, and the government should immediately respond to the problem of out-of-school children, which is increasingly rapidly, and the Acting Director General of the FCT Emergency Management Department, Mrs. Florence Wenegieme, who was at the scene, persuaded him to come down from the mast, which he eventually did. Of course, he was taken to the FEMD office, where the police reportedly took custody of him. Amazingly, police taking custody of this person. Also, we had police take custody of a person protesting in Abuja. I think it's called Flag Boy, protesting in Abuja, and he made a video in police custody in Abuja that how the police arrested him after he was protesting in Abuja about the hardship and the hunger in the country. And a few days ago, we saw the EFCC warning Nigerians that if they ever protest against the way they carry out their operations, there's going to be a clampdown of Nigerians. Police arresting people who are protesting. Of course, this thing is out, it's already in the open. People are going through a lot. There is hunger in the land, and there's a lot of people speaking about it, and this is just one person threatening to commit suicide.
Indeed, Emmanuel. So while we take a look at the current economic situation in the country, and of course also, you know, a compassionate, you know, because of the state of things for people who can barely feed themselves, feed their children, even send children to school. While we bear in mind all that, I've always been of the opinion that when we burn down our country, what will be our gain, right? I mean, the Kenyan model has you know, has seemingly given a lot of people food for thought. You know, people are thinking, should we go the route of protest? Of course, like you did say, FCC, you know, clamping down on people saying, don't protest, we will clamp down on you, police arresting people who are voicing their discomfort. My question really is, do we really want to go the route of Kenya? We always know that no matter how peaceful, no matter how well-intended these protests are, a lot of times the protests are hijacked by people who are ready to loot, people who are ready to destroy, and so at the end of the day we have that chaotic situation to deal with. I mean, we had it on the morning show this morning. It was a discussion we had, and one of our callers did say, so if you're saying, you know, there was a group led by Olu Kayode Olufa, one retired Brigadier General, who said, oh, Nigerians should adopt the model of Kenya. And he was asking, he said, are you on the side of the group or are you on the side of Nigerians? I said, I am on the side of Nigerians. However, while I don't speak for the organization because I don't even know who they are, they don't pay me to do their job, you know, my thought is, we can move forward by building. We can move forward by, you know, just keeping on. However, how do we move forward? Government has a responsibility to the people. And this cry of hardship, it didn't start today. We've had the stories even since last year. We had different states where people came out to protest, and we don't know what happened. People lost their lives, things were destroyed. Government should not push people to the point where, you know, they resort to violence as the only means out of a bad situation. When the people are talking, government should listen, and government should be proactive. You don't wait for a problem to happen before you solve the problem.
But then again, it's really not a protest, a violent protest. It's a peaceful protest.
That's what I said. Usually the aim of the protest is to get government attention, to get government to listen. So it is well intended from the beginning. But you and I know that no matter how well-intended or how organized that protest is, there are miscreants that are lurking behind the scenes, waiting to hijack that protest because they want to loot, they want to destroy, they want to kill. And then, of course, you also have some of disgruntled political figures who would sponsor. So at the end of the day, I mean, referencing again the EndSARS, initially when EndSARS started, the organizers said it was a peaceful protest. You know, they were just calling on government to do what is right by looking into, you know, the infrastructure of the SARS, whether to, you know, scrap SARS and whatever. But we know what happened eventually, how that movement was hijacked. Yes, a lot of people have said the organizers were not prepared, you know, they just came together and it wasn't a well thought out plan. Whether well thought out or otherwise, there are disgruntled elements who will hijack any protest, whether peaceful or otherwise.
But about the issue of NSAS, there's still a lot of contest.
I don't even want to dwell on NSAS because we know that a lot of things played out. We know a lot of Western outside interference came into play, and we knew what the goal was to achieve with the NSAS. But thank God, that has ended, even though we're still living with the aftermath of it. But I just cited that as an example. No matter how well intended a protest, a peaceful demonstration is, trust me, there are disgruntled elements who would want to foment trouble.
But then again, we do not really know if the government actually listen. So if you protest peacefully or you protest violently, are they listening? Or if you even are open for discussion, it doesn't seem like a lot of these African governments, African leaders are listening, except for the Liberian president who just cut 40%. Let's take that story. Liberian President Joseph Boakai has voluntarily slashed his salary by 40% to cut government spending and ensure fiscal integrity and national financial security. Now, this announcement was made in a statement shared on the Liberian government website on Saturday. The statement reads, "In fulfillment of his commitment to fiscal integrity and national financial security, President Joseph Nyuma Boakai Sr. has announced a voluntary 40% reduction in his salary. This development follows some lawmakers arriving at the parliament in tricycles in protest against the non-payment of funds for their vehicles by the Ministry of Finance and Development Planning. Boakai said the announcement reflects his position to lead by example in strengthening government accountability and demonstrating solidarity with the citizens. According to the president, the announcement reflects his determination to lead by example in strengthening government accountability and demonstrate solidarity with the people of the nation. The Liberian leader said the move is aimed at setting a precedent for responsible governance and nation building, slashing cost of governance. Something to point out there. Lawmakers arriving in tricycle in protest of non-payment of funds. I think
for their vehicles, not just not salaries or bonuses or sitting whatever that all of those things that accrue to them, because payments were not made for your vehicle. So the question is, what is the state of the economy of your country where you think you have the right, you think because you are entitled to vehicles, the government must pay for your vehicles.
After all, we're giving over
hungry on the street.
We're giving them over 100 million naira worth of vehicles in Nigeria. So they may be thinking, let's us replicate this model in several African countries. But see, these are the issues that the people of Kenya are protesting. Whether violently or not, of course, we're not for violent protests. We're not advocating for any violent protest to happen anywhere in Africa or anywhere in the world. But the thing is, people must hold government accountable. That's the quest. That's the real deal. People must hold government accountable. And if you don't want people to hold you accountable, you must be transparent. You must be accountable by yourself. In fact, if you declare, if you're accountable, if you're transparent with the people, there will be no need for all of these protests.
A lot of times, I tend to take the blame away from government. Most times, because, like I also said earlier on the show, you as the citizen, you have the right to determine which way your future would go. And we say they rig, they snatch ballot boxes, they do all kinds of things. But sometimes you give them the figures to read. You yield yourself to them to be used as miscreants. I mean, trust me, today we know what played out during the presidential election, even the governorship election across the country, how touts made it impossible for people to vote. People of a certain ethnic group, people in certain areas, people in certain parties were prevented from voting. Those same touts, are they having it any easier today? That's where because at the time they were a lot of them were very proud, to shout out their accomplishment. We did it. But today, what's your story? So the Nigerian who can buy fuel today, can you buy fuel? The Nigerian who is paying 1,000 naira for transport, are you not paying the same? Are you trekking to work? Can you afford to pay your rent? So it's a vicious circle that has everybody in it. So we're just going around. So people should think of their actions. That's why I say I hold the people responsible. I hold them accountable because you made it possible for the wrong person to be in office.
Corrupt leaders are aided by the people who put them in power in the first
Indeed.
place, and are people who do not hold government accountable. That's all we can take on developing stories and this morning show for today. Until we come your way again next time, do have a lovely day. Thank you.
Yes, we're going to further expansion, but beyond that, going to new technologies.
The testimonial from publishers abroad who publish here in Nigeria.
There's an ability of the spirit that allows you to do beyond expectation. That's what we're seeing with GPB.
Global Plus Publishing is a renowned name in the publishing industry, known for its commitment to excellence, innovation, and quality. With a robust portfolio that includes books, magazines, and marketing materials, the company has established itself as a leader in the sector. Now, the recent acquisition of a state-of-the-art printing machine further underscores its dedication to advancing its capabilities and serving its clients better. Now, in this special feature, we will learn more about Global Plus Publishing and, most importantly, the launch of a newly installed Ecoline